if I attack the elf when his Ancient of, or when his Hunter's Hall is going up, I may be able to delay his later game units. And he did. He attacked when the Hunter's Hall was there, and he wasn't able to get into a position to attack it, or at least he couldn't see it in time and didn't want to waste time running to it. But he was able to, at least give himself the opportunity to take away Dryads and Bears for a little bit of time for the Elf player, and that's just smart play by the Undead. That's a lot of times when Undead players will try to push your base, is right in time to cancel that Hunter's Hall. And if you look at it, I can almost guarantee that the Undead player's creep pattern was designed so that he just innately attacks at the right time. He doesn't have to think like, how many dots of it is in, or how many dots am I into Knight, or where's my tech, where's the Elf's tech? He doesn't have to think about it that much. He just shows up and goes in. And setting Q marks for yourself like that through your creep patterns and different things is it's really useful and helpful for you. And then, as we also analyze the same situation, the Elf player knows that a lot of Undeads like to cancel that Hunter's Hall. And I don't agree with this Demon Hunter running all the way across the map and not killing an Acolyte, because what was the Undead doing? The Undead player was building a Frost Tower to slow down the Demon Hunter, so the Demon Hunter wouldn't be able to even kill one Acolyte. So the Demon Hunter doesn't kill any Acolytes, has to teleport home, almost gets surrounded, which would have been huge at that point in the game. It almost gets surrounded, and then he uses good micro to save his units, but had his Demon Hunter already been there, or had he jacked the Undead player before the Undead player even made it into his base, he might have killed more ghouls and not even lost any units. And this would have been far more valuable to him. He wouldn't have risked losing as much as he could have. So that's the kind of thing you need to think about. Think like, I kind of want to go kill some of his Acolytes, but I think he's going to attack me right now. So look around. If you see something weird going on at his base, like if he's doing some weird build at his base that you've never seen before, or something like that, then you can worry about something fishy going on. But generally speaking, you've got a good idea of how this game is going to play out. Most of these games play out in a pretty typical fashion unless something weird is going on, and that's what you just need to watch for. If you're playing on Battle.net and you see somebody do some weird-ass build, well, then scout a little bit more and be prepared to adapt some more. But, I mean, just think about it. If they're doing something weird, well, then don't tech and expo at the same time. That's still just a bad move for you most of the time. Think to yourself that your opponent may be doing that, run around and try and abuse them attempting that, but you don't do it. The other big thing in this matchup, especially whenever the Undead player goes tri-hero like that, especially with that combo, is that they're almost always going to come in at Tier 2 with that Naga, some ghouls, maybe a Fiend or two in the Death Knight to try and cancel your Tier 2. I have lost games by running around and creeping at bad locations whenever the Undead player is coming in to do that. And as we saw in this game, Q Factor was completely out of position for the Undead player coming in to do this, and as a result, he had an Ancient Protector canceled and two Ancients of Lore that were both past 50% done canceled. And that's really not good for you. Like, if you have to cancel it right away, then you chase the Undead player off and you start them again, okay, that's not too bad. But if you lose those Ancients of Lore, after they've been going for a while, it's a really bad situation for you. Because you're not going to have the units that you need whenever he shows up again, because that's what he wants to do. He's trying to delay you from getting those Tier 2 units. He's going to leave. He's going to go creep now that you have to guard your base because you ran off for too long. So he's going to go creep, he's got map control, he may get the key items that he needs to win the game later, and now he's going to push again when he gets his third hero with an orb. He's going to get that Lich with an orb, and he's going to show up again. And if it's a really good situation for him, he may be able to attack bears that haven't even gotten upgraded yet. If not, still, he can nuke these bears down pretty quickly, and the dilemma that you run into as an elf player is once you staff home a bear, well, then he can focus one of your heroes, and you may not have a staff ready to save it. So you've got to be thinking about this. Whenever you go into these fights, like, the staff isn't just for saving all your units, it's for saving specific units within a specific frame of time. And I still feel like, even though the elf player did that straight tech to bears, had bears a little bit later than he might normally, had he not gone for that expo when he did, he probably would have had enough units to defend in his base. The Undead player would have been forced to run away a little bit sooner, wouldn't have killed really any units, then the elf could have abused map control to go creep, probably creep one of the two nearby reds, and then build his own expo. So a lot of this game, again, it's about decision-making and making these key choices at the right times, right? But it's a very, very dangerous thing to mix strategies. As you start to learn different strategies, keep them separated, right? If that Undead player had gone Death Knight, Naga, Lich, 6 Gargs, and then A-bombs, like, it's probably not going to work out for him because it's too weird and the timing doesn't work out right. By picking up those Gargs, he's probably delaying going to Tier 3, delaying going to Tier 3, he's got the A-bombs too late, and the Panda's going to be level 3, right? So don't mix strategies, stick with them, and whenever you think about not mixing strategies, at the same time, don't try to go through a game and mix up something like, expoing, and teching. Almost always keep those two separate. Anyways, if you want to go back, feel free to watch that game again, because there's some really good, fast micro that happens by both players. And I feel like the Undead player was a little bit faster than the Elf in that game. And that's part of what helped him. But really, I feel like the Elf player lost the game from himself with those minor decisions where he was creeping in places that maybe he shouldn't have been, or he was just out of position. He wasn't close enough to his base to guard against the Undead player coming in. The Elf player maybe could have crept at his own Goblin shop, then his Ancient of War that was walking out would have seen the Undead player coming. The Elf could have then gotten the key kill, run home, probably saved at least one of his lores, if not both of his lores, and forced the Undead player to lose more units. And if the Undead player had lost more units going for that harass on the Elf's base, he wouldn't have had the map control that allowed him to get the key items that allowed him to win the games. So, games in Warcraft 3 can be very, very back and forth, but it's important to always think about what you're doing, what your opponent is doing, what you want to do, what they want to do, and how those things are going to conflict with each other. Because you're going to try and cancel their buildings, they might try and cancel your buildings, you may try and creep, they may try and jack you while you're creeping. And so think about what they're doing, what you're doing, and how you can counter at least what they're going to try to do to you. If you're playing a standard strategy and you're countering what they're going to try to do to you, you're probably going to be okay going into the late game. But final points for everybody. Elves, you need fast micro to save your units in this matchup. You need to not leave yourself vulnerable to a push on your Hunter's Hall, and you need to not be vulnerable to a push on your Tier 2 buildings. Those are the two key times for an Undead player to push you. And whenever an Undead player's first push fails on you, like the Undead players did in that game, then he's probably going to have to come back to get you at Tier 2. Otherwise, he is screwed for the rest of the game. And if you stop him both times, and you're quick with your heroes, you've won that game. Undead players, same type of thing. Focus on being fast with your micro, and also teach yourself really good timing for when to push into the Elf player's base. And if you see an Elf player make a mistake, like putting up an expo too quickly, or in a place that he shouldn't, abuse it. And you can pull through and probably win that game for yourself. Anyways, I'm going to be looking for a good human versus elf replay, because I really like how those fights play. I enjoy the 10 to 20 minute fights that can sometimes happen on the high level of play. And I think that's really when I'm going to start talking to you guys about micro, and probably finally fully iron out the concept of wave DPS for all of you, because it becomes very apparent in that matchup. But WC replays, you stay classy.